Hey everyone! Let's talk about freedom. What do you say? It's a word we throw around all the time like a frisbee at a picnic. But what does it really mean? Turns out, freedom has a history, a long, complex, and fascinating one. Think about it. We've gone from ancient empires where kings ruled with absolute power to declarations of independence and human rights. That's a lot of changes, and it wasn't always pretty. Revolutions, wars, movements, all fueled by this burning desire to be free. But here's the catch. The definition of freedom? It's gone through more rewrites than a Hollywood blockbuster. What the ancient Greeks considered freedom is different from what people fought for in 18th century America, for example. And it's definitely different from what people are seeking today, from the streets of Hong Kong to the squares of Europe. This ain't your grandma's freedom we're talking about here. It's an ever-evolving idea, an idea shaped by countless cultures, struggles, and dreams. So buckle up, because understanding freedom, it's a wild ride through history. Okay, let's get one thing straight. Freedom isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. It's more like those choose-your-own-adventure books, where each culture gets to pick its own path. Take ancient Athens, the birthplace of democracy. Well, almost. They were all about citizens participating in government. Direct democracy, baby. But hop over to ancient India, and you'd find a different vibe. Their idea of moksha was all about spiritual liberation, breaking free from the cycle of reincarnation. No need for voting booths there. Fast forward to the Enlightenment, and you've got guys like Locke and Rousseau arguing about natural rights and the social contract. They were all about individual liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ring a bell? That's America's jam, my friend. But here's the kicker. Even within these cultures, freedom didn't mean the same thing to everyone. Women, slaves, the poor, they weren't exactly invited to the Freedom Party. The fight for equality within freedom, that's a whole other chapter, folks. So here we are in the 21st century, standing on the shoulders of revolutionaries and reformers. We've got declarations and constitutions galore, promising freedom and justice for all. But let's be real. The fight for freedom, it's far from over. Just look around. The concept of freedom still sparks heated debates and ideological clashes. In some places, freedom means having access to healthcare and education. In others, it's about the freedom to speak your mind and practice your religion, no matter how much it might ruffle some feathers. And then there's this whole economic freedom thing. Is it the freedom to become a billionaire? Or is it freedom from poverty and inequality? Yeah, it's complicated. One person's freedom can be another person's constraint. Navigating this minefield? It takes a whole lot of empathy, understanding, and a willingness to listen to voices different from our own.
The concept of freedom still sparks heated debates and ideological clashes.
Navigating this minefield? It takes a whole lot of empathy, understanding, and a willingness to listen to voices different from our own.
Part 4. Bridging the gap. Can you hear freedom ring? Okay, so the world's a messy place and freedom is a complicated idea. But let's not give in to doom and gloom just yet. Just because it's tough doesn't mean we give up. We're talking about freedom here, people.
The good news is there are ways to bridge the gap, to find that sweet spot where everyone feels a little bit more free.
First off, let's ditch this us versus them mentality. Freedom isn't a zero-sum game. My freedom doesn't have to come at the expense of yours. We're all in this together, remember?
Second, let's practice a little empathy. Try seeing the world through someone else's eyes. Understand their history, their struggles, their definition of freedom. You might be surprised.
And finally, let's talk. I mean really talk. Open, honest, respectful dialogue. That's how we'll bridge the gap between different viewpoints and find solutions that work for everyone.
Part 5. Finding the harmony in freedom song. Finding that balance, that sweet spot where individual freedom harmonizes with the needs of society. That's the challenge of our time. It's about finding ways to protect individual rights while promoting the common good.
Think of it like a jazz band. Each musician gets their solo expressing their individuality. But they're also listening to each other, playing in harmony, creating something beautiful together. That's the kind of freedom we should be striving for. A freedom that's both individual and collective. A freedom that lifts everyone up.
Part 6. Let freedom ring, let freedom reign. Look, freedom isn't some abstract idea, some dusty old relic of the past. It's alive, it's breathing. It's the driving force behind every struggle for a better world. It's the activist around the world demanding justice and equality. It's the child in Africa yearning for peace. Their fight is our fight. Their freedom is our freedom. So let's keep the dream of freedom alive, my friends. Let's keep fighting for it, debating it, refining it. Let's make it so that one day, freedom isn't just a word, but a reality for every single person on this planet. Because in the words of the great Dr. King, no one is free until we are all free. And that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Stay free, everyone.